Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. I'm your host, Ron Gutterman, and today we are going to be discussing Ben Simmons. This Thursday night, one of the most highly anticipated matchups of the year will be happening when the Brooklyn Nets head to Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. Now, this matchup is highly anticipated for a lot of reasons. Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, James Harden, the star power in this game alone is great, and the Nets are fighting for a play-in spot. The Sixers are fighting for playoff seeding at the top of the East. A lot going on. But the reason this is such a highly anticipated game is for no other reason than for Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia after being traded to the Brooklyn Nets at the trade deadline. Now, he's not going to be playing in this game, but surprisingly, he will be in attendance at this game. So, how did we get here? Let's do some backstory before we get into why it's important that Simmons will be at the game but not playing. Let's get into some backstory. Ben Simmons has not played at all this season. After last season's unceremonious playoff exit in the second round, there was some criticism of Ben Simmons from Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, and really the city of Philadelphia, and Ben Simmons decided he was not in a mental headspace to play this year. He said things about injuries, all types of stuff, but finally settled he was having mental health issues and couldn't return to the team until he was traded or those were resolved. Now, it didn't look like it was ever going to be resolved because of the hostility in the room from Doc Rivers, from Joel Embiid, from the city of Philadelphia, who has a pretty notoriously angry fan base. And I don't want to upset any Sixers fans, but you know, it can get pretty bad there. So Simmons decided he wasn't going to play. He wasn't even going to practice. He wasn't even going to be in Philadelphia until this situation was resolved. And in his mind, resolved meant a trade. Now that led to the 76ers saying, if you're not going to show up, we're not going to pay you. And they fined him upwards of $20 million in various fines regarding an inability or a failure to fulfill his contractual obligations. So with all of that drama going on with his finances, the $20 million, and with, you know, all the hostility in Philadelphia with Simmons, why would he show up to Philly when he's not even going to play? There's nothing in it for him if he just shows up and sits on the bench. Except, according to Kyle Neubeck of Philly Voice, Simmons is actually going to use what happens at the arena on Thursday, which is likely going to be a lot of boos, a lot of really angry vitriol directed from fans towards Simmons. He is going to use all of that in a grievance that he plans to file against the 76ers, requesting that he be paid his $20 million. Now, there have been rumors of increased security presence at the game, which Neubeck, he reports that could be due to a number of other factors. It's a big game. Celebrities might be in attendance. A lot of extra media might be in attendance because it's national TV. But Simmons is going to use that and use whatever happens to him at the game, which, again, will likely be some boos. It will likely be some negative commentary. He's going to use all of that in a grievance saying that he is owed his $20 million because the vitriol and hatred of the 76ers fan base and the 76ers organization towards him made it impossible for him to fulfill his contractual obligations to the Sixers. Basically saying, they are so rude to me, they are so nasty towards me, that I should not be expected to play under those conditions. I should not be expected to fulfill my contract under those conditions, and therefore, I should be paid my $20 million from the Sixers. Neubeck now says, with the grievance coming up, Neubeck basically said that league sources, people around the league, and obviously this is all rumors about what people are thinking about this, but according to Neubeck, league sources have said that the case against Simmons and for the 76ers to not pay the $20 million is very, very strong. So let's kind of take a look at both sides and see what they're arguing. Simmons, look, We can say what we want about Simmons on the court, right? He's an incredible defender, one of the best defenders in the NBA. He's a great ball handler, a really great passer, great court vision. Obviously, a lot of shooting struggles, a lot of struggles when it comes to scoring the ball. And that's what led to all of this. We can talk at length about Simmons on the court. But off the court, Simmons has a point in terms of why he might be angry with the 76ers organization or feel that it's not worth it to play for the 76ers organization. He can say that the coaches and the players were openly, chastising him after their playoff loss last year. He can say that the fan base was very hostile towards him, and he would have proof of all of that. The question is, and this is Philly's side of the argument, are those things combined enough to withhold $20 million from your contract and basically say, even under those circumstances, you are still required to show up to practice, to show up to the facility, to show up to the games, and even play in the games. You are required to do all that as per your contract. And so if you don't do that, even if you have reasons or whatever, we are right to withhold that $20 million from you. So Neubeck says the league's case is stronger, at least, or the Sixers' case is stronger, according to league sources. Now, it remains to be seen if this is true. We'll find out once the grievance is actually filed. But here's what's important to note about what Neubeck is saying about this whole situation, because all we have on this grievance, on why Simmons is showing up to the game, to use that to prove that Philly fans were too hostile for him to ever be able to play in those conditions. It's important to note that anything Neubeck says and Philly Voice says on the matter, they're likely receiving intel directly from the Sixers. This is a Philly-based organization. This is a Philly-based writer. So this is obviously going to have some 76ers skew to it. It's likely going to be anti-Simmons, and that's not to discredit the piece. It's a very good piece, and it goes very in-depth on what's been going on. But it's likely going to skew in the favor of the Philadelphia 76ers as opposed to Simmons. So perhaps there's more to Simmons' case than we have publicly available. Perhaps he's going to use things that we have no idea that he's going to use. All of it remains to be seen, and it's going to come down to when he actually files that grievance, which Neubeck reports is going to be in the coming days, and Thursday's game, and this is where it all comes back to. Thursday's game is going to be Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and Exhibit C on this is why I could not have played, because I'm not even playing for the Nets. I just showed up to the game as a member of the Nets, and look at all this booing and hatred that I received. Now, Sixers fans could end this by just not booing him, but we know fans of sports, they're going to boo, they're going to yell things, they're going to, heckle him a little bit. So if Sixers fans go too far on Thursday night, Simmons may open himself up to having a legitimate case. If not, we'll have to see what happens and how the league handles it and how the Sixers handle it. But either way, Thursday's game is going to be very drama-filled on the court with all the playoff implications, play-in implications, all of the, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, James Harden, all these big names. And it's going to be filled with off-court drama where we're going to be closely watching what Simmons does and what happens with the Sixers and the league and the grievance that he will eventually file. But let me know what you think in the comments. Does Simmons have a right to his $20 million? Does he have a right to be upset about what went down? Do the Sixers have a right to withhold that? Let me know what you think. I want to thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe here to the Front Office Show on YouTube. You can find videos from me, Trevor Lane, Keith Smith. You can also find me on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel. We're making daily content there, so that's all really exciting. But once again, thank you for watching. Have a great day.